Okay, how's everyone doing? In this video, we are looking at your 10D African Kingdoms note. Um, as always, remember that you can pause videos, rewind them, stop them, do what you need to do to make sure you get stuff written down. I'm going to motor through here. You do need to make sure, if you're filling your notes out when you do this, that you mark where each of these kingdoms is located on the map. Alright, so essential questions is by the end of this video and these notes, you're going to be able to know the characteristics, the basic characteristics of civilizations from sub-Saharan Africa during the medieval period. And remember, sub-Saharan means south of the Saharan Desert, so below the Saharan Desert. And when we're referring to medieval period, in this case we are talking about that time frame of 1000 to 1500 CE, which is when we'll see some of these African civilizations rise, and then they become a very large part of that global trading network that we've talked about taking place along the Indian Ocean and throughout the Eastern Hemisphere. Alright, so African civilizations are going to develop in sub-Saharan and West and East Africa. Trade is going to be a biggie for them. Trade is going to bring important economic, cultural, and religious influences. And while we've said when it leaves a place and spreads somewhere else, this is the reverse. Okay, remember, when we talk about those things spreading through trade, usually the vocab word that we are referencing is diffusion. Alright, and then states and empires are going to flourish in Africa during the medieval period, and we're going to look at 3 different places, 5 total empires. Here we go. Alright, the first one is Axum. Axum is located near the Ethiopian highlands and the Nile River. You'll see it spelled both ways depending upon who translated it or which language made the map. And Axum is actually going to adopt Christianity. As you can see here, it's just a hop across the Red Sea from the Arabian Peninsula. So they have access to those Christian beliefs or Islamic beliefs in those areas. Now, just a quick refresher, Axum is on the upper Nile River. Okay, in case you guys had forgotten, the Nile River is actually considered to be backwards, Egypt being on the lower Nile, Axum and what is eventually Nubia being on the upper Nile. And remember, we named it that way, or it was named that way, because it's the direction it flows. Highlands, like the Ethiopian highlands, means mountains, high hills. So that was the source of the water that flowed into the Nile, and the water flowed, quote-unquote, down towards Egypt and the Mediterranean Sea. So that's Axum. Our next one is Zimbabwe, which personally is my favorite 2 rivers in the world. The Empire of Zimbabwe is located between the Zambezi and Limpopo rivers. Their capital city, Great Zimbabwe, was the capital of a very prosperous empire. Stone structure, center of gold trade with the Indian Ocean empires. Great Zimbabwe, as you can see here, is near the east coast of Africa, along the Indian Ocean, way down south, almost down where Madagascar is. As you can see, here's the Zambezi River, and here's the Limpopo. This is an overhead shot of the city of Great Zimbabwe, or the ruins of it at this point in time. A little bit more look at their architecture. What's impressive is you can see these high walls. You see how smoothly these walls are cut. They used zero mortar when they put these walls together. These bricks were shaped and laid perfectly without the help of glue to still stand. And this wall here is actually 11 meters, about 40-45 feet high. Alright, and our last area that we're going to talk about here, Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. All 3 are different empires. They occur in about the same part of the world. This is located near West Africa, near the Niger River and the Sahara Desert. So West Africa, below the Sahara Desert. Gold and salt are going to be important for trade. They're sending the gold out, they're bringing the salt in. And if you guys remember our trade routes, this is that trans-Saharan trade route that we've talked about. So our trade that goes across the Sahara Desert from West Africa to North Africa and the Mediterranean Basin. Now the city of Timbuktu is going to become a trade center and eventually becomes a center for learning with universities and a great deal of knowledge. It becomes their center of culture in this region. And religiously, initially, the Ghana, Mali, and Songhai empires believe in animism, which is a belief that non-humans have spirits, so the tree gods and so on and so forth. But as this trade machine starts to get rolling, we are going to have Islam starting to play an important role, specifically during the Mali and Songhai empires, when the Malian kings, a guy named Mansa Musa, will actually convert and will lead a pilgrimage to Mecca, which has the likes of no one has ever seen, with the amount of riches and gold that he took with him. And when he comes back, most of Mali will convert at that point in time. Alright, and as you can see, they are generally overlapping. You have Ghana here in the 11th century, the Malian Empire in yellow in the 14th century, and Songhai a little bit bigger here in orange in the 15th. And if you're still confused by when we say the centuries, when we say the 11th century, we're talking the year 1000 to 1099 roughly. When you see 14th century, think 1300s. And when you think 15th century, 1400s. And just a little better view on the map. If you're wondering why Africa is the K, this map is German. So in German it's spelled with a K. As you can see, Ghana's not the biggest of empires. It's very small, very tightly knit here in West Africa. Mali is much larger, snakes along the Niger River. Timbuktu is the capital, actually sticks out to the Atlantic Ocean. And if you guys want to think about it, the reason that the Niger River is a shaping force in this empire is this is a very hot region of the world. They're going to want to be near water. You want to have access to that water. It allows you to ship along it, have access back to the ocean, and also for farming. And then lastly, the Songhai Empire. A little bit larger, a little more extensive. And that's it.